Welcome back to the I've Created a Monster podcast, a weekly random chat where I chat about random things weekly. I am your host, Rushni Cope, aka Glamazini, and as always, I am live with my patrons. If you would like to support on Patreon and be live in the chat with me when I'm recording, become a supporting patron at patreon.com/Glamazini. Okay. If you are unaware, I wear a headband every single podcast, especially if you're listening on audio, you wouldn't know that. And today I went with a bear. Okay. I got my hair done last weekend and it's not exactly what I want. So I bought more hair and I'm going to shape it. And I wasn't sure that the headband was going to look right, but it's cute. And I don't think I've worn this one before. So I am a bear today for no reason except I don't think I've worn it before. Okay. More personal updates. The podcast is going to be uploaded weekly. I made that switch last week and explained to you why in the previous episodes. If you missed it, go back and check it out wherever you are watching. I upload this on YouTube at Monster Created, on Facebook at Glamazini. Yes, I know different spots, but you can figure it out. And on audio platform. Link is in the information box. Okay. The reason I'm doing weekly is because I want it to be quick, fast, and to the hurry. Okay. Flavor Flav what is that saying? I don't remember what he said. Okay. I'm trying to edit it and get it up. Now, did I fail to put the audio podcast from last week up in a timely fashion? I did. However, worry about your taxes. Next, today is really going to be a one topic conversation. But before we get to that conversation, let me blaze through the other sections. I usually do RIP. I talk about pop culture and I do politics. Let's do politics first. I don't want to talk about it. I explained to you guys why I didn't want to talk about it in last week's podcast, but real talk, it's because it's exhausting and it makes me feel like somebody is bloodletting me and I don't want to do it. I will say this, those people's president is accepting a airplane from Qatar and has allowed a group of 59 white, that's important, South Africans, okay, to become refugees here in the United States. They have actually arrived when all other refugee admissions have practically been closed. And I mean, for the life of me, I can't imagine why he would want 59 white people to come in when all the brown people he's been getting rid of. All I have to say is someone voted for that. It's not me. And that's all I'm saying about politics. Today's conversation is going to be all about something that's going on TikTok right now. And it's literally my entire FYP. And I'm not joking. It's literally my entire FYP. Every video is about this viral situation on TikTok about gingers being black. Yes, you heard me right. Gingers being black. Okay. And if you're not on TikTok, you're going to be like, girl, what you talking about? Listen, I'm going to try my best to explain it to you, but you really had to be there. Okay. It's happening right now. We are 6 or 7 days into this phenomenon and I'm going to break it down as best as I can. And then I'm going to come in with a little bit more nuanced thoughts that I have been having here on this platform. And then I'm going to leave and go about my business. Amen. Amen. Gingers are black, Rushni. What are you talking about? Okay. First of all, a ginger is a slang word for a redhead. If you did not know that, which I did not know until I moved up here to the States, and I got more information on that since, but ginger means redhead. Yeah. I personally don't say gingers. I'm saying it and I made it the title of this video because that's what people are saying on TikTok. But I say redhead and I've always said redhead. So I'm going to say redhead the rest of this video, but please know that I am talking about the TikTok trend of gingers are black. Okay. So what happened? There is a TikTok user. I will put her name on the screen. Okay. Scorpio, Stelly, something or the other. And she made a extremely viral video that basically said, I just need to remind y'all that all gingers are black people. If you see a white man with red hair, that's a black man. If you see a white woman with red hair, that's a black woman. That's all the girl said on the video. For real, for real. I saw her video when it came through my FYP at first. And what I thought to myself was, I don't know if they're black people, but I have always loved gingers, always loved redheads. Okay. Redheads have always been my fave. And if I'm being totally honest, redheads have always been, in my mind, peak white woman beauty. and peak white man beauty. Well, no, white men, I prefer black hair on white men. That's probably because of John Stamos. It's a whole thing. I'm Gen X. Okay, so just release me. Okay, but white women with red hair and like that porcelain skin, the freckles, the green eyes, peak white beauty in my mind. So when I saw the woman's video, I was like, I'll allow it. I don't know if they're black, but I kind of get what you're talking about. And I went about my business. I took it as tongue in cheek. I took it as like, haha, we having a little kiki out here. I took it as a quick TikTok video that was pointing out something that had a lot more nuance to it. And I scrolled past it. But this thing caught on fire. Okay. I was not expecting it to catch on fire the way it did, but it did. Okay. And every video since then on my timeline for the past week has either been black people talking about the discourse of gingers, redheads being black, or redheads talking about the discourse of what their experience of it has been. Okay. Yes. So if you don't know what I'm talking about redheads being black, that's the trend. That's the phenomenon that I'm also talking about. And now a quick tribute to Bianca Netta. Who is Bianca Netta? Okay. The other thing I thought about when I saw that lady's video is my Cabbage Patch Kid. When I was growing up, I said I'm Gen X. I had an original Cabbage Patch Kid in the original batches. Okay. And her name was Bianca Netta. Bianca was a chubby, which Cabbage Patch Kids are, little white girl with red hair and green eyes. Bianca was chosen by me intentionally. A little black girl growing up in the Virgin Islands on a 32 square mile island in the Virgin Islands. I intentionally chose a white with freckles, red hair, green eye, Cabbage Patch Kid because, as I said to you, I have always thought red hair and green eyes were peak white woman beauty. And clearly my childhood receipts are receding. Okay. I no longer have Bianca Netta because hurricanes are a thing. I also have never been able to find a picture of me with Bianca. I don't know if I even had a picture because back then people weren't really taking a lot of pictures. And if they were, hurricanes destroying my childhood home and photo albums are a thing. But Bianca lives in my heart. Okay. And I think about her often. And there are times, as you can probably see if you watch on visual platforms, I am a giant child and I have a lot of, plushies and stuff behind me. I have often conceptualized looking for a replacement that looks like her that I could own, Cabbage Patch Kid. Okay. The other fun fact is my son's best friend looks like my Cabbage Patch Kid. And since I don't think anybody in her family is ever going to see this, it don't make me no never know mine. But if they see it, just know that your daughter looks exactly like Bianca Netta. And when I say I'm talking about, she looks like if my doll came to life. So I have always personally had an affinity and appreciation for redheads. Okay. And so this conversation online just fit into that and I let it float away. However, I have learned so much this week and I wanted to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's go. First of all, I learned that the term gingers, which like I said, I did not grow up using. And in my mind, I don't call redheads gingers. I call them redheads because that's what I grew up saying. I learned that term came from South Park, the cartoon series South Park. Okay. Ironically, when South Park first came out, I was an avid South Park watcher and I did not miss an episode. However, over the years, I faded off. And so I am in no way, shape or form familiar with classic South Park besides the very, 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 very beginning. Okay. So clearly I missed the Gingers episode. And if it did happen in the early ones, it's gone out of my brain. Okay. Trauma and dissociation. I did not know that. I learned in the 8 billion TikTok videos that were served to me that it came from a South Park episode, and the gentleman that shared it on TikTok said that he, a redhead, never really liked using the term because when he was a child and that episode came out, someone immediately came up to him at school and pointed out that the word gingers was just the N word for Black people with the letters rearranged. Let me say that again. The word gingers, Gingers, is just the N word with the hard ER for Black people with the first and the third letter rearranged. And when I tell you I had never, listen, I wasn't thinking about it that hard. Okay. I have a son with special needs, lots of chaos this past year. It's been a lot. Okay. There's only so much my brain can handle. I went to the dermatologist this morning and they asked me about 2 prescriptions they gave me. I forgot about the whole first one. Didn't even remember it. Details just out. Okay. So the fact that gingers could have been derived as a play on the hard N word and South, I don't know if that's what South Park intended, but the guy said, someone told him that at school, and then they used it profusely to attack him. So he knew exactly what they were trying to say. It made me realize that I probably was not going to adopt the word gingers either, for no reason except I really wasn't a person saying it, although I'm saying it a lot on this podcast, but you understand why. And I was used to saying redheads. Okay, so the pain in his face made me think, okay, and I'm a deep empathetic person. So I was like, okay, noted, never knew that. So if you never knew that, just know that. I'm not saying South Park meant that because I don't see the episode. Although knowing South Park, if you know anything about South Park, they could have very well meant that, okay? Those writers, that's the space they could have been in. But they were irreverent in all spaces, okay? And it definitely could have been used in that way for that community of redhead humans. Yes, yes? Okay, good. Next, I'm going to move on to the idea of the experience of redheads and the experience of Black people actually having some overlaps that I never actually sat and thought through that much. Like I said, my experience, my relationship with the redhead community was just one of admiration for their beauty, having a intentional few dolls that had red hair. A lot of my favorite musical artists are white women. I always say I have a wailing white woman with a guitar situation that's going on. Okay. If they can be out on a hillside in the Highlands and singing to me, something about that does it in my spirit. Every genetic test I take has Ireland on it. So apparently there's some genetic ancestor back there trying to call out to me. And that was as far as it went. Okay. However, there are overlaps in our experiences. And I say that with great nuance because I am in no way saying that redheads are Black people. Okay. And I think that we understand that. But one of the things I've learned about nuance and complexity and inferential thinking versus concrete thinking is everyone doesn't always understand it. So I want to talk about it right here. Okay. So the overlapping part of the redhead and the Black experience that I could definitely get down with is the feeling of being othered in the white hierarchy, right? The construct of whiteness. Okay. And if you don't understand the separate thing between having a construct of whiteness and like being of European descent, I'm not going to explain it to you, boo boo. I just turned 49. I'm too old. Okay. There's way too much information out there for me to spend my time doing that. It's too, I'm not doing that. But there is a separation in my mind. Okay. So I'm talking about the construct, the made up hierarchy of whiteness, right? And in the made up hierarchy of whiteness, I have learned so much this week about how they have comparable experiences of being othered in the way that we have. It's not the same othering, but it's othering. Okay. And I didn't know that. Call me ignoramus. Call me, girl, where have you been? I don't know. Like I said, I've been sleeping in hospital rooms. Okay. I've always seen white women with red hair and freckles and green eyes. That combination is peak white beauty to me. So I have learned this week that they are not considered peak white beauty. Matter of fact, they are bullied. They are abused. They are neglected. They have been told inappropriate. So many people said that somebody asked them when they were a child if the curtain matched the drapes, which means does the hair on your head indicate the color of your pubic hair? People, I probably saw 50 different redheads say that. More on TikTok. What? And let me tell you what I've never been asked as a Black person, a Black woman, anything about my pubic hair. by an adult. So it's just wild work to me because they are existing in a construct at the bottom. And from the outside looking in, I promise I thought they were the top. I don't understand how you could look at a redhead and not see that they are superior when you put the genetics of that together. Like if I were going to be in that genetic situation, which is not my choice, I like it over here. But if I were going to be white, I would have went redhead. And you trying to tell me that the other people, the black hair, the brunettes, and the blondes would have been trying to gaslight me and tell me that I wasn't peak white? Anyway, so I learned that. Okay, I learned that. And a little bit more on that coming up. The next thing I want to say is the idea of being othered does not mean redheads are black. Okay. This is a lighthearted kiki. It's a little like inside jokey, two othered communities having a tay-tay-tay. Okay. It's like a camaraderie moment. I've seen plenty of black people put up videos where they're telling the redheads who call themselves gingers not to use the hard ER, kind of alluding to what I said earlier, and instead make it Ginga, ginjas. Okay. In the same way that black people have like reclaimed that word, respelled it, and made a differentiation between the word that was used to harm and the word that we take back for ourselves. Okay. It's very like coming together, cousin-y, good times, fun, lighthearted, surface level. And I was taking it that way. However, I am being exposed to a few more places of depth. Now, one that I was aware of, I'm still not deeply aware of it, but I'm still surface level aware of it, is there were points in history where black people and Irish, Scottish descendant people, who tend to be where the redhead people come from, were enslaved. Okay. Either enslavement and or indentured servitude, some their combination thereof. And there was a time in history that I was aware of that redheads were not even considered white. Okay. And so like they were grandfathered in whiteness in some other situation. I'm not going to sit here and tell you because I'm not, listen, this is a podcast with a woman wearing a bear headband. Okay. If you want deep historical dives, this is not the spot. Okay. But they did have a enslavement and or you are not considered white in the white construct, which is why I call it a construct. Okay. Because how in the world are you going to call somebody whose skin is whiter than yours? Red haired people tend to have extremely pale skin. Okay. Their skin is whiter than yours. How you gonna exclude the whitest white people? Sorry, that had to come out. Just made up hierarchies of power and authority and extraction. Ridiculous. Anyway, back to the point. Okay. So there is a link to the redhead experience and the black experience. Okay. But it's not the same. I saw this lady on TikTok say it very well. She was like, it's the same parent company. Like that company makes, I don't know if this is true, but let's say they make Frito-Lay and they make Doritos. That's what she said. They both are chips. They're different. They're very different, but the same parent company made them. And the parent company was white supremacy. Okay. So she was like, that's why we can all have like a kiki about a similar experience and a camaraderie over it without diminishing or erasing or even fully equating it to the black experience in America. Okay. Without that, which brings me to the incredible positive things that I see coming out of this discourse. Okay. One of which is redheads get it more than I have noticed other proportions of the white population getting it. What do I mean by getting it, Rashni? I have seen the majority, not every single one, but I'm talking about the vast majority of my flooded TikTok. I've seen hundreds of videos about this topic at this point. Okay, TikTok's trying to take over my brain. And the percentage of redheads who understand and can articulate and communicate the nuance of a similar experience of being othered while clearly communicating. They are communicating with clarity that it has nothing to do with the black experience. It is not equitable to the black experience, and it does not erase the black experience is astonishing to me, because usually When I encounter white people, it's a mixed bag. I don't know what I'm gonna get. Okay. If you look at the election result, it's a half and half. Okay. You're gonna get one person that sound like they making sense, and then the next person talking like they in the Handmaid's Tale. And both of them you just ran into in the past 5 minutes. Okay. It feels like the proportion of redheads that get it is like astronomical. I have seen videos just unpacking like the awareness of their privilege and unpacking like it doesn't erase the black experience and speaking in such beautiful like just nuance and complex thinking skills. It's so good. Shared experience of being othered without overstepping or centering themselves. So you trying to tell me that not only are they peak beauty, they're peak cognition? I did not notice. I have had redhead friends. Okay, do I have any redhead friends now? Let me think. I'm not really walking around thinking all that. I don't think I have. Not in town, not physically in town. Like, in life, but not in town. You trying to tell me that I got to up on the redheads because the cognition that I'm looking for is over there? Because of the experience of othering? What's going on? I did not know that. I did not know that. Not only that, so many redheads are so happy to be brought into blackness. I have seen redhead children respond joyously. I mean, just with absolute glee. I have seen men and women, old and young, everybody in between. Okay. And they are not like, I don't want to be nothing. No, they are like, finally, we knew it. It is just, I did not know. Have I been sleeping on the redheads? Like, I've been liking redheads in a theoretical sense, but I probably need to, like, if I'm going into white people, do I need to like stock up on more redheads? How do they feel about Caribbean women? Because what's going on? I'm thinking about the redheads that I went to school with. She was a good time. I'm not gonna call her name, but she was she was a good time. I was unaware. So not only are they exquisitely beautiful on the outside, okay, because it's rare for me to see an unpleasant looking redhead person. The combo of their skin, freckles, and hair and eye color knocks it up. It makes it harder to look bad to me, but it's just, I was unaware. Okay. Now I have seen some people overstep. Rarely though. I've seen two videos of redheads, one saying the hard N word with his black friends in a song, singing the lyrics, and like literally the lyric of the song was, I said it. And all his friends are jumping around with him and he's in the middle saying it. Now, this is what I got to say about that. Cognition is on a spectrum and some people have to be low on the spectrum. I'm gonna look in the camera when I say that. I have people in my life who hate when I say stuff like this, but I don't know where else to place it at this point. So if you can help me think of it differently, please let me know when you watch or listen to this. But the people who are high on the spectrum of cognition and intellect often aren't even aware that they're up there. And sometimes they are aware, but maybe they aren't. Everyone thinks they're average, hence the whole concept of average. People who are low in cognition never think that they're low. And low cognition people might have low cognition people friends. So, I mean, and low cognition has nothing to do with hair color or skin color. It just has to do. So if I see a group of black men jumping around with a white man with red hair saying the hard ER word, something ain't working in the cogs are not cogging. Okay. And I just let that be. You got to have that kind of outlier. And that is what it is. Okay. I've also seen a couple cringy things on both sides, being honest. I saw one kind of like socially awkward redhead saying something that was a little like, but also social awkwardness has nothing to do with hair color and skin color. When you have such a large movement, there has to be outliers. And I am still amazed at how many people have complex, nuanced thinking skills that can communicate acknowledgement and appreciation and their othered experience without asking for it to replace the experience of Black people. It's an astonishing thing. And I was unaware that this was available. And I could just pick it out potential, I could increase my chance of experiencing it in a white person by choosing my hair color. Are you serious? It's like a little tag when you go to the store. I did not know. I did not know. Okay. I also saw a Black woman make a video talking about the concept, and in it, her language choices were infantilizing redhead people, almost like they were cute little children that you like pick up and put in your pocket. And I was like, girl, that's cringy too. So there's a little bit of overstep on both sides, but for the most part, it's been a good time. Okay. The other thing that I learned about that I was fully unaware about, and I said I talked about it earlier, but we're going to go into it a little deeper now, is redheads are out here being bullied and abused. Did y'all know that there's a Kick a Redhead Day? Kick a Ginger Day. And somebody said that it originated from South Park as well. I don't know that to be true. I don't know. All of this is alleged. Okay. Like I said, if you want AP level sources, you need to go to the Associated Press. Okay. I'm sitting here with a beer headband on my head. Okay. Where are you getting your stuff from? All right. Kick a Ginger Day. And literally, I saw a mom of a family of redheads post about her family, and they were so beautiful, the whole family. And she said one time her son came home covered in bruises because he had basically been like physically attacked on Kick a Ginger Day. What? Could y'all imagine if there was a Kick a N-word day? Montgomery Brawl. That just pissed me. Let me hydrate. That just made me mad thinking about it. Now, what the? We have to put a stop to this. Oh my God. I did not know that. As a Black woman, I have never heard of Kick a Ginger Day. White people really out here eating their young. Why would you come up with something like that? Anyway, if you did not know, that exists, okay? Redheads have expressed that they have been bullied and othered, and like I said, asked inappropriate things, people calling them fire crotch and over sexualized, and I can't even remember all the other stuff. And like, I was just like, like many other Black people who made videos, was new and informed about this phenomenon. I have always thought redhead people were peak white beauty. I thought that they were enjoying a higher ranking in the ridiculous hierarchy than they clearly are amongst their own people. I was unaware because clearly I'm not in their people. So I don't know that's inside the house. Okay. That's inside the house. I have nothing to do with that. Okay. I'm out here fighting for my life in this brown skin. Okay. So you guys, they are bullied. And you know what? Some of that othering experience could be why the cognition is cognitioning, okay? And the empathy is empathying. And I am just seeing this very high percentage of redhead people being able to comprehend the experience of Black people. Because some of that might be necessary for the comprehension, but oh my God. And I have seen so many, I was not expecting this. I have seen so many redheads come on TikTok and cry, like legitimately weep over like repressed pains that they didn't even realize they were having. People who couldn't get their words together. Some people could get their words together. All of them sharing all these stories of how when other white people were dragging them for filth and making their lives living hell. Otherness. Oh, that's the other thing. Apparently back in the day, people used to think redheads had something to do with the devil because people's brains are simplistic and they really think that little red dude that doesn't exist in the Bible is like an actual thing. And so they just saw like red dude in the Bible, the pretend red Satan character. And then they went to the people with the orange hair and they were like, that's enough. I don't need anything else to other people. And so people were considered like witches and demonic. What? Listen, like I told you, I'm breathing on 50s neck. I do not have time for. Not only were they sharing all of these times when they were othered and told they were demons as children and they had no soul, and like I said, all of these comments about their pubic area, like what is happening? But they all were sharing equally positive experiences that so many of them had with Black people. And if I'm being honest, I didn't realize everybody else was rocking for redheads like I was rocking for them, because I just always loved redheads ever since I was a kid. I have no idea why. And I chalked it up to genetics. Like I said, I've taken like 3 or 4 genetic tests at this time, and Ireland is coming in strong. Okay. And I know that I have family from Europe, like like it's like fifth great grandfather. And the changing of my last name spelling, my like all that. So that I always figured, okay, it's some ancestor calling out to me genetically. But apparently, like the rest of the Blacks are rocking with redheads, and we've been rocking with y'all, and we've been like really being nice and kind and elevating y'all in the way that we think y'all are pretty because you are, and handsome because you are, and your porcelain skin, although it's a little. Listen, let me tell you a funny thing. I have a friend that was a redhead, and it was me, her, and another chick that had went to live in Spain. Okay. Matter of fact, if you're on YouTube, I'm gonna turn this. If you see mess, I don't want to hear it because there's boxes from Amazon. You see this? Oh, you can't see it. Good. You see this here? This poster? I took that off of a wall in a flamenco bar in Spain. Okay. When I was in Puerto de Santa Maria. Okay. Me and this. Listen. We used to go to the pool. You know how hard it was to find a spot at the pool because she wanted to be in the shade and I wanted to be in the sun. Okay, I wanted to be topless in the sun, girl. And she's like, I'm a burn. So we would have to find like a spot that had like a line of shade and a line of sun. And she would put her towel next to me in the shade. And I would put, y'all got delicate skin. Okay, it's a whole thing. But they have really been out here being wrecked. And so many of them are communicating to us that this is healing something in so many redheads in a way that I, as a Black woman, could not anticipate. My lived experience could never. I did not have an adult experience. Like, let me think. No, nobody close to me right now. My last like super cool redhead experience was like early 20, like in my 20s, and I'm 49. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to go with that. Let me think. Because my son's best friend's mom, her hair is brown though. And her, okay, I'm going to go with I don't. Okay. So I don't have anybody telling me their lived experience of depth. I was unaware. When I tell you I was unaware, okay, that redheads have been experiencing this much trauma at the hands of other white people inside of their own hierarchy, and that they were unaware how Black people felt about them. That's the other thing. Once I realized that I will always like redheads, I've realized that Black people kind of like redheads. I thought redheads knew that. And this is a very nuanced thought that I want to get out. Watching these videos makes me realize that the redhead people, that's exactly what I want to say. Thank you. The redhead people who are around majority white people had the most trauma. The redhead people who had aligned themselves with more Black people brought up the fact that they were traumatized, but they were already healing because the Black community loves us. Okay. The people who had only surrounded themselves with white people, they're like sucked dry, like the little things in the Little Mermaid. You see my Ursula back there? Just this is astonishing to them. This is news to them. They were not coming to the well to drink of the water because they didn't even know the well existed. Okay. Could you imagine you living in a world where you're the bottom of the rung, where you could be in a world where people think that you're beautiful? Could you imagine? That's the okie doke of white supremacy. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so the other thing I want to point out is I have seen a few of the larger platforms that have redhead content creators, and most of them have responded with hesitation, with PSAs for other redheads to be cautious and to navigate with caution, right? For them to continue to unpack their whiteness and for them to not get too comfortable. And I've even seen one of the larger redhead platforms say he's not participating. He was like, I'm not participating because I'm not about to come in here and be a part of anything that sounds like it's trying to equate itself to the Black experience. Although he did put up a video that was extremely wonderful with an experience he had with Black people growing up. That, like, anyway. So it's been nuanced and it's been interesting. I think the larger platform creators know, though. They know how things start out real kiki and happy and then they just tank. And I think that that's what they're doing. Like I said, as of the day that I'm taping this, which is May 13th, I think we're 6 or 7 days into this happening. And with such a large movement, there will always be some old outlier stump going on. People taking it too far, like I said, old boy and his low cognition friends jumping around saying the hard ER word, cringy things, people infantilizing. But I have actually been quite shocked about how many people have been positive and like doing this very well with nuance. Okay. And now I want to talk about Black people's responses to this. So it is really interesting to watch because overall, the Black people I've seen responding to this trend, Black women mostly, but also Black men, have been overarchingly positive with a little bit larger dose of skepticism, right? And I feel like that's valid. I myself, Rashni, I'm from the Caribbean, okay? And so I have a Black American experience because I'm from the US Virgin Islands. I'm a born American citizen. So I have a Black American experience, but I also have a West Indian person's experience. And my West Indian experience kind of like overshadows the Black American experience for the formative years of my life, even though I've been up here in the States for more than that, okay? So my experience isn't even the centered experience because I don't think redheads know, like, maybe they don't. Maybe just like I didn't understand the nuances between the white community about how they were at the bottom when I thought they were at the top. Maybe they don't understand the nuances that were like, Black people from Africa and Black people from the Caribbean and that nuance within the community because that's in the house. Okay, that's in the house. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. So I have like I'm always like adjacent to the Black conversation, Black born here, foundational Americans whose ancestors were brought to the slave trade in the mainland US. You understand the difference? My ancestors were brought to the slave trade, but they drop them off in the Caribbean. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. It's really interesting to see because skepticism and hesitation is valid. I haven't seen it a lot, but I have seen it. Okay. And it makes sense because just like the larger redhead creators have come in with PSAs to be cautious, their own hesitation, or declaring that they will not be participating because it's too much of a minefield, even though they get the vibe that people are trying to communicate to each other. Black people, large platforms or not, have valid skepticism and hesitation, right? Because of the current climate we're in, the current racial climate. We are going backward, right? It's high stress. Skin color is causing people to remove your rights. I just told y'all that a bunch of white people from Africa, from South Africa, Afrikaans people, and listen, were allowed into the US. And listen, I have my own history with South Africa, okay? I was a beauty queen back in the day. I went to South Africa. I met Mandela. I have a picture with him downstairs. And I remember being there and the fact that my skin color was rare in the beauty queen community, which was wild because there were plenty of representatives from Africa, okay? And it was part of the conversation, okay? And so that culture, people who were in apartheid and derived from people who were in apartheid with their kids and everything, they let 59 of them people come up here, okay? So skin color, as much as people want to act like it's not a thing, it still affects things. So the skepticism of Black people here in the United States makes 100% sense to me. There is valid historical trauma. There is valid historical trauma about including other groups just to get burned. Okay. There is valid trauma about what is it about? There's risks, you know what I mean? Of like supporting and cheering people on all the time, which Black people do, especially Black women. Okay. We always the one that people want to do the labor and we're always volunteering for the labor. And in some ways that's beautiful because it's just how we are. But in other ways it's exhausting. Okay. And there's nuance there, but it's very normal to see like Black people chided for something and then another group get applauded for it. So now Blackness is amazing because redheads are Black, but when Blackness isn't amazing is when Black people are Black. You know what I mean? I get that. Okay. Including people can often be met with harm. I never invite anyone to an imaginary cookout. Something about the imaginary cookout invite never sat well with me. And the reason is because we are so, and like I said, I'm a Caribbean American, so I don't even know if I get to invite people to the cookout, but let's just say I did. I've never once been like, you're invited to the cookout. Okay. You could search the internet because we are always so welcoming to communities that are not welcoming to us. And when I say we, I mean Black people. Okay. We are always taking everybody in. And that is part of why I wanted to share that nuance I was noticing about redheads and how like they seem to get it to a point. But I can see, you see my eyes when you're looking on visual platform, but how far can they get it? Because I don't have the lived experience. And so what they can do though is be aware that they don't have the lived experience and always center the fact that it doesn't, whether or not this conversation is healing them and all of that good stuff. Okay. Because if you don't, you get a little too big for your britches. And like the larger redhead pages say, now you out here doing dumb stuff, like screaming the hard ER with your dumb friends, whatever. Okay. There's risk to extending connection during fragile times. And there's just like an exhaustion and a wariness that Black people have that is valid for all of this coming together that we facilitate without ever having that coming together offered to the Black community. It hasn't gone well. And so I totally understand the skepticism. And it's not a lot, but it's, it's a good chunk, 15-ish percent, 15 to 20% of the Black people's videos I see are skeptical. The original content creator, I did see her post another video after that about it. And I went to her page and I was like, it says something about hoodoo and a root worker. And I don't know anything about either. So I'm not going to talk to them. What I did think about her video was she seems to be operating in a reality that I am not in and I don't want to be in and I don't have time to discover. Okay. And she gets to do that. So maybe she was saying that for real. I thought it was a joke. I think that the conversation has spun off from her into like a lighthearted thing with a few more depth, not necessarily what she meant, but it is what it is. Okay. And in closing, you know what I want to say about the entire conversation? I get it. I hope it lands well. Meaning when the dust settles and the conversation has been like the kick up of the fervor of the beginning of the conversation has been had, I still think that it was a beautiful season and moment. It was worth noticing. I am learning so much about redheads and the fact that I am seeing so many beautiful people on my timeline. I told y'all, I love how redheads look. And the whole timeline is just pretty person after pretty person after pretty person, most of whom don't think they're pretty, which is wild to me. But it's just eye candy. It's beautiful. I love it. And I love that part of it. I'm going to be sad when that stops. Although I do miss seeing Black women on my timeline. Maybe I should stop interacting with the redhead videos, but I can't. I can't because I like seeing them. Okay, listen, complex. Okay, I'm complex. It's worth having. It's worth appreciating. I hope people don't blow it up. And I hope that when the dust settles, nobody messes it up to the point that it's irrevocable. Okay? Kind of like Hillman Talk and the girl acting up with the Hillman Talk founder. You don't have, some people blow up things because they are addicted to chaos. And when peace exists, they have to cause chaos because they can't figure out how to do anything else. I hope this doesn't end that way. And if you are a redhead watching this and you got to the end, drop a heart in the comment section. Okay. My favorite, people have been calling you guys red velvet because red velvet is chocolate cake with red food coloring and cream cheese icing. I personally like autumn American. I don't know why I like that. I know. Yeah. Anyway, don't mess this up. Okay. Make sure you unpack your whiteness and don't mess this up. And you're beautiful. All right. This video is sponsored by patreon.com/Glamazini and the Black Woman Healing Fund, a fund that provides financial gifts to Black women on a healing journey. If you would like to support the fund and be live in the comments when I film, become a supporting patron at patreon.com/Glamazini. Okay. And don't forget to show up, to speak up, to F something up and create your own monster. Bye, y'all.